my brother. Man, what is going on, man? How you been, my
Oh
brother?
man, I am chilling, bro. How about yourself?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I know, man. Last time when that happened, when you didn't get the alert, I wasn't even tripping because when you dropping jewels, you know what's gonna happen, man. How you feeling today, my brother?
Yo, you know what? I'm feeling all right, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm alive, so I feel all right, brother. I feel all right, man.
All right. Well, we about to get into it. Just in case if anybody listening to this, you are listening to my brother, the philosopher, uh, uh, the reality bender, somebody that I look up to, somebody that is very knowledgeable about who we are as a people and where we came from and where we're going. This is my brother David, and his podcast is the No Compromise, podcast. And you need to check it out on YouTube. And we about to get into it. And I appreciate you uh, gracing gracing our presence, with your knowledge and dropping jewels. So we're gonna get right into it. First question I'm gonna ask you. First question. What do you think about the violence in America? Let's go the last 6 months. Whatever you can think of. What do you think about the violence in America and how does it affect black folk?
Oh man, that's a phenomenal question. So I would say, man, the violence in America is something that we've seen before. You know what I'm saying? Like this is we've seen these type of actions probably not just on different levels and on different scales, different states. Um, but the violence, man, that's been happening. I would say specifically, like with the shootings, with these shootings that's been happening, and dudes getting like Kyle Rittenhouse being released, not being proven guilty for and not even criminalized for his murder. I think a lot of people stopped there and they're like, man, this is all something that started from Kyle Rittenhouse, and I would say that this doesn't even start there. We got to take a look at Zimmerman, how he was able to, how he was able to just kill a young man. He wasn't a cop; he was just a cop wannabe. But because he sided up with the white society, or I should say, the white society sided up with him. Then this man went from being Latino to more of a Cuban, a white Cuban type of guy, and he was able to kill Trayvon Martin and get away with it. And I think that was just I wouldn't say it would be the beginning, but for our era, it was definitely the beginning of the end. With the violence happening in America, man, right now, it's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's not a great thing, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because violence has been committed against black people for years. So that's just to kind of answer it in reverse, kind of, and how it affects black people. It affects us greatly. You know what I'm saying? Because we already have um, uh, the law at war with us. Period. And because we have the law at war with us, the dominant society, white supremacy, white racism, white rage, they control that law that is placed against us. So we don't have any rights that a white man is bound to respect, according to these white supremacists. That's never been overturned. So when you take it back from the Dred Scott case and you look at it now, this is the attitude that they carry. So when you see a white guy, a white supremacist who can go into a shop that in which a shopping area in which he know elderly black people are going to be there and shoot to kill. I mean, it's these dudes is coming out with ARs. When you come out with ARs, you're not just trying to scare someone away. You're shooting to kill. When you that's army, that is army. That's military type weapons. So there's no. You're not coming there to kind of to just guard and be the security. You're going to shoot. And when you shoot, you know that it's a 99% chance that it's going to kill. And these dudes can do this and just plead that insanity. They know the dominant society is going to back them up. You know what I'm saying? But they can plead insanity. They can, and the way that they're described is as, they're not described as men. They're described as teens and 17-year-old, 18-year-old, young men, things like that. If this was a black man going up into a white neighborhood shooting, they would have called him a terrorist. He would have been labeled as a man if this was a 17-year-old, whatever the case may be. So the violence in America is nothing new. It doesn't matter which party is in control. There's always going to be violence in America because you have violent minded people living here in America. And I don't mean that in general. I'm talking about white raged type people. They are violent in their nature. To their nature, they are violent. That's just how they are. So they bring their violence with them everywhere that they go. So it's very unfortunate, man, to even see this type of violence committed against blacks. But I'll hold it off right there because I got way much more to say.
Ooh, hot fire, hot fire. Okay, second question. Second question. Thank you, my brother. You listen to my brother David. If you just tuned in, No Compromise Podcast. I need to go check him out. I would call him, you know, my philosopher. When I want to get reference checks, I go to this brother. So, just I hope everybody tune in. Like I said, this brother dropping bombs. Okay, my second question. This is my second question. With people starting to wake up, right? And understand that we've been took, ran amok, again, bamboozled, again, with the voting and all that, right? Well, same thing again. This man done been in office, what, a year and a half? And they ain't said shit about black folk or anything like that. Do you think with all the violence in America, especially towards black folk, do you think we should vote?
Absolutely not. No. And I'm absolute about that. I'm absolute. I'm definite about that.
Unpack that. Unpack that.
Yeah.
That's an amendment to that question. Do you think we should
Right.
vote? And please explain it, because I want everybody to hear this. Explain this in detail. Why do you think we shouldn't vote?
No, I don't think we should vote simply because both parties have disrespected black people to the utmost in every area. I always like to go by the 9 areas of activity that Nearly Fuller speaks about and that our Queen Mother, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, speaks about, in which you have economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. In all 9 aspects, black people have been disrespected by both parties by the day. And both parties intend to do nothing about black poverty, mass incarceration, miseducation, misrepresentation in entertainment. You know what I'm saying? They refuse to do anything for black people, and they owe it to us. This is not something we're just asking for. They owe it, and they refuse to do it. So if they refuse to do it, we should pull ourselves out from the vote. I spoke with a representative this week for a congresswoman that's running over in my area in the 7th district in Gwinnett County in Georgia. I spoke to a representative by the name of Carolyn Bordeaux. And she asked me the same question: are you going to go out and vote? Early voting is available. Are you going to vote? I said, absolutely not. And she asked me why. I told her this. This is what I told her. So I'm not going to vote for Carolyn Bordeaux or anybody else. Not voting at all for nobody. Simply because, and she asked me why, I said, let me ask you something. Because Neely Fuller, remember, he says, when you're talking with white folks, you don't give them too much time to study you. Don't speak too much. Ask them a question. Control the conversation with a question. So I asked her, what does this Carolyn Bordeaux, what does she plan to do for black people specifically? And she said, well, she's planning on, she's planning on giving voting rights. And I stopped her right there. I said, oh, see, we don't want voting rights. She said, really? Because, I mean, that's what, what's this man's name? Warnock. I can't remember his first name, but his last name is Warnock down here in Georgia. He ran with Stacey Adams and all of them. So he says, Raphael Warnock, there you go. And she said, well, Raphael Warnock, she's going out to speak in Raphael Warnock's church, and they've gone to numerous churches and spoken with people, and this is what people are concerned with. They're concerned with health care and voting rights. I said, I had to stop you right there, because the people that you spoke to in those churches, and I bet you it was Baptist churches too. She said, yes. I said, exactly, because I know that's how, it was the first places y'all hit, it's the Baptist churches. So I said, here's the thing. Anybody 40 and under is not concerned with a Raphael Warnock here in Georgia. She said, oh, really? I said, I'm absolute. I said, you have to come outside of those churches and come out and speak to the people in the streets. Speak to the people in the streets, 40 and under. They are not concerned with Raphael Warnock. Those people are not even going to church. So when you speak to the young people, it's the young people, 40 and under, we're not voting. Because we are tired of the shenanigans. We're tired of you guys talking about voting rights and health care. But that's not even the biggest issue for black folks. The biggest issue for black folks is the resources. It's not redistributed. We want reparations. That's what we want. If it ain't reparations, there's no reason for us to even conversate. There's no reason for me to get my butt out to the poll. I said it's just a whole bunch of disrespect happening. You guys gave out collard greens to our elderly folks that came out to vote for Joe Biden. You gave out collard greens, bro. They gave out collard greens. What is that telling you? That's stereotype 101, right? So, but because black people, Warren G, is always looking for symbolic victories, we take this and say, okay, well, this person is going to do this, Joe Biden guy is going to do as well because, of what he's given us. Look at what he's given us, healthcare and voting rights. Dr. Claude Anderson has always told us to vote as a block. Black people vote as a block, which is what the Black Panther Party was aiming to do. Gather up black people to vote as one block, one center. We're not voting as one block because we're voting as conservative. We're a Democrat. We're Democrat first. We're Republican first. We're not black first. But when you go and flip on the other side, these other race groups, the Asians, the Latinos, the whites, they're white first, they're Asian first, they're Latino first. They're not thinking about being Republican or Democratic first because they know that these people, these Democrats and Republicans are going to do what they want. There's no way you can tell me with Barack Obama, one of the first, I would say, the first packet of rights that he signed was what? To do what? To spy on folks and gay rights, to be able to, for gay folks to be able to go out there and get married in these states. Like, you could just go out and do your thing. He empowered the LBGT community, never empowered the blacks. Okay, then you have Joe Biden in the seat with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris sat up there and said, I'm not going to do something specifically for black people. When I spoke to this representative from Carolyn Bordeaux, she told me that, well, she's not really looking to do too much specifically for black people, but she is looking to give you guys voting rights and health care, and she did vote for reparations. I said, well, listen, then there's no discussion. There's no reason for me to vote. This is why I'm absolute about it. Because you're not looking to do something specifically for me and my nation. I'm not going to do something for your nation. I don't care about this colorblind society they have going on right now, where everybody has to assume that race doesn't matter when it comes to black folks, but it matters when it comes to their own nation. That doesn't make any sense. When you take a close look at it, the Democrats and the Republicans has always held slaves. They've never done anything to erase and eradicate the whole notion of a white man has no rule, a black man has no rules or no rights that a white man is bound to respect. The 13th and 14th Amendment was supposed to eradicate that notion, but it never did. Simply, we can look at the actions. You had lynching crimes, lynching bills that Ida B. Wells was trying to have passed decades ago, and she couldn't have it passed. Here it is, 120 plus years later, we still can't have a lynching bill specifically for black people that's going to be passed. We can't have a hate crime. That's essentially what Ida B. Wells was pushing for, was to have a hate crime bill passed for black folks. It just so happened at that time, the biggest crime that was being committed against black folks was arson and lynching. So here it is now, we are trying to have hate crime bills passed and they won't have it passed. And this is what I told her, right? I told her this is a high disrespect for miseducation. Our children are miseducation. She said, well, Mr. David, what do you mean by that? I mean, the kids are learning. I said, what do I mean by that? Is that our kids are not taught. They're not educated about who they are, where they come from. Our kids can go through 9 months in school and not learn one black inventor that impacted America, in which you guys, the white people, benefit from, which the Latinos benefit from, which the Asians benefit from. Bro, I tell you, by the time I finished with her, she told me, she said, you know what? I honestly think you need to speak to Carolyn Bordeaux yourself. She said, in all honesty, you need to speak to her yourself, because I think she really needs to hear what you have to say. She said, in all honesty, I think your whole county needs to hear what you have to say. And I kind of like joked it off, like kind of like, ha, ha, ha. And she really did call me, bro. This is why I was asking for advice from you and Erica, because she really did call me, but I was at work. I was on the plantation. But then when I came back, and then I had some work to do with the community, with my youth and stuff. And she called me during that time. But I left a detailed message when I finally got a chance to get back to her. My name, my number, my email, everything. I haven't heard anything from her ever since about Sunday. She's campaigning. So I guess when they're campaigning, I guess that's just too important, right? But again, I don't recommend any black person to vote because, again, if you were so anxious to speak with me, and if your representative is saying you need to speak with this fellow and you're trying to reach me, I understand I didn't pick up the phone. I'm on a plantation your people set up. So, but when I'm off and I'm finished working with my youth and with the community, now it's time for me to speak with you. I don't get any answer, none of that.
Wait, wait, wait,
But
wait, 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 wait. You cannot just drop that bomb and go over that and just keep going. You said, I am on the plantation that your people set up. Man, I'm about to use that shit. But anyway, man, I'm sorry, my brother. I'm using that. That's cold. He said, I can't answer the phone because I'm on the plantation that your people set up. Wow. Go ahead, keep going. I had to get that out, man, because that was cold. But go ahead, keep going, my brother.
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, man. So yeah, I don't. So no, absolutely not. I recommend all black people to pull out from the vote. I think that we should pull away from voting because voting is important. I'm not going to say it's not. It's important, but it hasn't gotten us anywhere at this point. Voting is one aspect of our is our is one aspect of our liberation. One aspect. But you have a lot of these older folks, which is what I told her. I said, these people who you guys are talking about with healthcare and with voting rights, these are the people who were born in the 50s and 60s. They still care about these things. Like, I'm not saying that young folks don't. It is a focus for us. I hear you, Warren G, all the time talk about insurance policies, health policies, that you need to take this stuff out. You're not 50 and you're talking about these things. So it's very important. I'm not saying that it's not. But what I am saying is that's just one aspect. The bigger aspect is to hit them in their pockets. We got to pull away from the voting aspect and say, what are we going to vote for? Vote for what? We're going to pull away from voting and we're going to boycott your businesses. That's what we're going to do. We're going to really hurt. And we, not only you as a white nation, we're doing it to the Asians and the Latinos. Now, understand, we don't control airports and cargo ship ports and all of that. We don't control the fish and the seafood, these things that's coming along from overseas and in the middle of the ocean. We don't control that as of right now, but we can. But my whole thing is, what I'm getting at is that we vote for them. They give us out their butts to kiss. They, the biggest subject, the biggest problem here in America is that they have not redistributed the wealth to black people. They have not given us our reparations in which they owe us. They owe it to us. They said it. Not only do they owe us, the white society, the American Indians, they owe us as well. Remember in the 1866 Indian treaties, that was one of the solutions from America, one of the demands, I'm sorry, one of the demands from America to from the American government to the American Indian tribes. They said, yo, you have to let these slaves go. Not only do you have to release them, you have to we're calling for emancipation amongst the slaves that you have, because it's past 1865. We in 1866, and we hearing that you still have slaves, which is very hypocritical. Because there were some plantations that still had slaves. You can look down in Mississippi. Folks didn't even know. There was little pockets, although Juneteenth had passed, there was still little pocket areas in which black folks never got the word that slavery was supposedly over. But to the American Indians, they were supposed to release us with money, material, with money, resources, and land. They were supposed to release us as well. So, in all actuality, black folks are owed reparations two times, by the U.S. government and by these civilized tribes. The tribes that America civilized held slaves. So they owe us. So we are owed reparations from two different nations. So in that case, again, why vote for people who have no intentions for doing something for your nation, your people? They have no intentions. They've said this. Kamala Harris has gotten on the internet, which is kind of like the second-hand national television, and said, I'm not going to do something specifically for black people. So she let you know what time it was there. Ketanji Brown, she's just said that she's going to withdraw herself from these cases, these that involve the incarceration, the wrongful conviction and incarceration of black people, black men in specific. You see, so I mean, we have a whole bunch of things happening in which they're saying we're not doing nothing for you. As a matter of fact, just to show you we're not going to do nothing for you, we're going to allow your babies to be bombed and killed in cold blood. We're going to allow your young men, your teenagers, to be killed in cold blood. And we're going to release the murderers. We're going to allow a public spectacle of a lynching with George Floyd. And we're going to kill your queen, Breonna Taylor. And we're going to continue to incarcerate your black men, no matter if it's Trump or Biden. We're going to continue to incarcerate them at a high rate. And we're never going to pass a hate crime bill. So you guys would never be protected. Although you're supposed to be the minority here, which I would never call myself a minority. But you're supposed to be in a minority. But the majority is supposed to take care of the minority. That's in the Constitution. It's supposed to be that way. We've never been taken care of. So they've double backed on us a whole bunch of times. And not only that, they said we're going to continue to kill your babies because we're going to arm these urban neighborhoods. We're going to withdraw the resources. So we're going to take away the employment opportunities, the education opportunities, the business building opportunities. We're going to take that away from your neighborhoods. We're going to allow it to crumble. And then we're going to arm you guys with weapons so you can kill each other to get what you don't have, and in the process, kill each other babies. And then we're going to lock your men up for that. And we're never going to pass a hate crime bill for you. So, in essence, white folks are catering to the black violence happening in our areas, in our neighborhoods. And they're still not going to pass anything. Not only that, they're saying, okay, well, you know what? We're going to allow police to be able to kill your older men and your young men. We're going to allow them to strangle them to death. Eric Garner. We're going to allow them to just execute them like Mike Brown, shot multiple times. Not only that, we're going to allow them to kill your babies, your 12-year-olds. Tamir Rice. And we're still not going to pass anything for you. But when 6 Asian women are killed in Atlanta, down here where I live at, when 6 Asian women are killed, immediately, within 2 weeks, we're going to pass the Asian hate crime bill. Immediately. This just shows us as black people, they don't care. So if you don't care for me, why should I vote for you in your party?
Man, you dropping jewels. I appreciate that, my brother. You dropping jewels. That's my brother David. We got somebody else on here that want to add to the conversation. At God's mind, you permit. Go ahead, my brother. You want to go ahead and speak on this subject matter today? Go ahead, man. You have the floor.
Yeah, I think what the brother was saying, I agree. We do need to start governing ourselves, but also too, part of what's been happening, we have not been holding these black politicians accountable. That's number one issue. For years, we've been voting the CBC, NAACP in there, putting all our trust and faith into them because they always been assuring us that they are going to do things that fits our best interests and for us. Not until Trump got in office. Let's call it for like what it is. When Trump got in office, it really made us step back and say, "Damn, let's look at politics from a different lens. What's really going on?" Because now the shift has changed. We are now more vocal about things that we are not getting, but also too, we could only fault the white man but so much. I'm not talking about the reparations piece. I'm talking about what's happening now. We also have to start putting people being accountable for their kids, and education starts at home as well. You just can't let your kids go out to school and expect these teachers to do right if you don't participate in the same breath with your kids' education. That's a problem too. Why do you think in most urban areas they always have a lesser type program, and who's teaching in these urban areas? White people. So of course they know that if you in the area, say I'm from New York, I'm from Queens. So basically, if you're black and you're on welfare and they know your parents not working, why can't you bring your ass up to the parent teacher meeting? Because if you want your child to elevate more than what you have in life, that's what you should do as a parent. So my thing is we have to start the groundwork. And in terms of the voting, there's two. Let's just kick around some ideas. I understand about the not voting and stuff, but I'm from New York, and I've seen New York
Oh,
deteriorate
man, I
from
hope he can
the
get on.
inside out.
My bad, my brother. My bad. I'm not trying to interrupt you.
Yeah,
You going in and out. You about to drop jewels. So kind of start from where you was about to take off, man, because I want everybody to hear what you got to say, brother.
yeah. So what I'm saying is, I'm from New York, and I've seen inside out how we voted for all these black politicians, and what they did was agreed with these other Democrats to allow immigrants to take over. So what's happening in New York City now, black Americans are damn near extinct because everything is about the Hispanics and other non-black Americans. So what happened is, I know in my part of East Elmhurst, Queens, what happened, the Asians in Flushing, New York, bought up Flushing. So Flushing is little Asia, little Chinatown. They started buying up the houses in my neighborhood from black people, renting them out to illegal immigrants, pushing us out. Now, the average house, my, my parents bought our house back in 1973, 74 for $40,000. The average home in my neighborhood is over $900,000. And if you go to East Elmhurst, Corona, New York, and look at the Zillow prices, you'd be like, I ain't paying no $1 million for that type of house. So what they do is they price us out. And these are black politicians that we put power that allow these other communities to gentrify areas. So what we have to also start thinking about is, what are we going to do now to combat all this stuff? Because New York City is finished. I try to tell a lot of people, my boys down in Atlanta, listen, if y'all don't pay attention to what's going on in New York City, y'all going to repeat the same thing that's happening up here in New York. Y'all getting flooded down there with a lot of Mexicans, uh, right? Y'all getting, and just like California, California is done. California is damn near. Anytime you have a sanctuary city, you're finished. So there's two folds to the voting thing. I think what we have to do is strategically vote and hold people. When I say strategically vote, see, I've been up to New York State. New York State has a bunch of white racists up there, and New York State has always been Democrat. So on one trip, I was coming back home. I said, "Damn, it makes no sense that you got my boys in the South that quick to say, oh, you can't vote for no racist Republicans, so they vote blue. I'm up here in the North like, damn, how can I be a Democrat, vote blue, and my entire state is number full of Biden type racists? So basically, it's a wash. So I'm thinking like, well, if the Democrats tell black people what they ain't gonna do nothing for us. If they tell black people, well, what is done for America will also benefit black folks, shouldn't that allow us to think about, okay, well, if a Republican is saying America first, we putting American jobs first, we're gonna close up the borders, we're gonna put the jobs back in our area. So why should I vote for a party that is for open borders that hurt our communities versus a party that's saying America first, especially when they tell us what is done for America is also going to benefit black people? See, that's my question too. It's like in these urban areas, we're being ran out. And bro, I know you in Atlanta, y'all getting a lot of influx of them immigrants down there too. Y'all getting a lot of them down there. So Stacey Abrams, Warnock, they push for open borders. And what's going to happen in Georgia is this: they're going to rot from the inside out. They're going to get into those positions, bring in all these illegals, and push people out. And hopefully them illegals turn legal and vote for them. That's going to eventually flip to maintain Georgia as a blue state. They're going to do the same thing at Jackson, Mississippi. They're going to do the same thing in Tennessee. They already doing, forget about Louisiana. Louisiana that's how it is. So those are just some of my thoughts. What y'all think?
Man, that's funny. Man, we appreciate it, my brother. And I hope you have time to kind of chime in some more, because
Yeah.
that was a great point. My question that I want to ask both of y'all. This is my question. I want to ask both of y'all. Whoever wants to go first can. Why is it that the black folk that are in these positions to change the community, meaning the Stacey Abrams of the world and the black mayor of New York and all that, why is it they are pro? And when I mean pro, they are for immigrants, especially in this day, in this climate, and we see what's going on with all the warring and sending the billions of dollars over to Ukraine. Why is it not dominant society white folk? Why is it black folk that are not immigrants are for immigrants coming to this country? Whoever wants to go first, go first.
I think what happens is this. Let's look at the type of people in these Democratic positions. A lot of these Democratic politicians, if you look at them, look at their background, look who they represent, and look who's in their family. A lot of them are divorced. A lot of them are single without kids, or they were married and divorced, LGBT on the fence. So what happens is this. They do not have nothing of substance to pass down to make sure that their kids are taken care of. The ones that do have kids, politicians, they are setting themselves up to fattening up their bank accounts so when their kids get older, they have something that they don't have to worry about. You know what I'm saying? It's like they set, like, for example, Martin Luther King. A bad example. You know what? You got Jim Clyburn, Maxine Waters. started out maybe $75,000 a year. Now they millionaires. And they got kids. Their kids don't have to worry about too much if they spend their money the right way. So they already setting their kids up, for, in the future. So when they kick rocks, their kids and family is well taken care of for the next couple years. So that's why they do not put us first. Their behaviors are more like the behaviors of the politicians over in Africa, how they sell their people out. That's why they people run here. Our politicians do this, especially our black politicians do us the same way, but they finesse it by telling us, and what grabs us into this to supporting them. If you think about every time a black politician talks to us, it's always about these four things: racism, voting rights, police brutality, and racism, voting rights, police brutality, and criminal reform. Right? Those are the only four buckets they talk to us about. When they talk to illegals in other communities, what is it about? Education opportunities, economical wealth, economical help, housing, education, quality of life. They use those are also known as, I call them trigger words that affect our emotions, that keeps us scared, keeps us in fear, keeps us mad, which keep their ass in office. Why do you think they do that? They know once they hit them trigger words, they got our minds locked. So that's why they allowed to cut deals with these other people to bring the immigrants over here, because they getting checks cut. See, they helping. I don't know if you got heard Biden on that Zoom call with the NAACP, and Biden said by 2040, America will be mostly European white. When you whitewash, this is, if you pay attention to what they've done in Brazil, what they've done in a lot of these foreign countries when they whitewash, Philippines as well, they bring in Europeans and start mixing the lightening up the skin. So what they doing is they bringing all these illegals over here, telling us not to reproduce, kill us off, and then slowly but surely those numbers are going to come up. That's why these black politicians, and they don't have no skin in the game. So if they kids come up, their kids got enough money they can do it themselves or go marry a white guy. That's why they pushing this interracial marriage and stuff. Why do you think majority of the people, black people who got these positions, what's the commonality in all that? They married to a white person. That's why my position is this. I don't want to hear nothing else from a Democrat about racism, especially when you going home to sleep with a white guy or white girl, white woman, period. What we need to focus on, economics, and if you choose to vote, vote. But my thing is this: if your neighborhood in your area is being overran by immigrants and your ass is getting pushed out, vote the opposition. My thing is this: people don't wake up until you throw a body out in front of the bus. If you think about it, you know what impact would be? Right now, Biden had 87% of the black vote. Can you imagine if black people said, "The hell with it, we're gonna punish you, Democrats. We're gonna just shooting, shooting the bullshit. We're gonna punish you and vote Republican." Now that 87-13 has turned into 80-20. They'll be like, "Damn, our numbers are dropping. Our numbers are dropping. What's going on?" We get them back. We'll get them back. Just throw out some more racism, another cop killing, Black Lives Matter, bring that up. Now all of a sudden it goes from 80 down to 70-30, like the Hispanics. Don't you know that'll wake up the Democrats? The Republicans, we already know they ain't gonna do shit for us, but ain't none of these parties doing shit for us now. So why not punish the party that we felt we had allegiance to? That's my thing. They need to feel, because they don't look at the people who don't vote. They look at the poll numbers of people who are registered, who are black registered voters, and how did they vote. So if you sit at home and don't vote, they don't care. They got them busloads of immigrants coming over here to replace you. And if you live in an area that you see that type of change, vote the opposition. Because if not, for me personally, any candidate that's talking about open borders and helping immigrants, I don't want to hear that shit no more. If a candidate said close these damn borders, take care of America first, I might cast my vote for them, because I'm going to be like, listen, F that. I see in my neighborhood, this shit is raggedy as hell. I feel like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar walking through my neighborhood because I'm only 5'11". These jokers 4'5" and all, and 5'3". So that's my opinion on that.
Man, we appreciate that, man. That brother was dropping jewels. David, man, what do you think about what the question was, and break down how you feel about the situation?
So if it's ask that question one more time.
The question was, why is it that black folk that are in positions of power politically, they always spit that mantra of we need to open up the borders and for the immigrants, basically that whole let's keep the benign neglect policy going. As long as we keep letting immigrants in, I'm just kind of paraphrasing. Why is it that black folk that are politicians, why are they so pro immigrants coming to this country?
Number one, because they haven't thought thought in terms of nationhood. They haven't thought in terms of nationhood. Secondly, they've received the notorious manumission. And that's what it comes down to. So if you combine those two things together in one individual, a black person, you're always going to have them at odds with other black people, but they would be in favor of anybody outside of a black person. So again, they are out there seeking, they've already gotten their notorious manumission because they've been handpicked. The one thing that we misunderstood as black people living here in America is that a lot of our politicians are hand-picked. They are not from our community. You know what I'm saying? They're not chosen from the black people for the black people. So when you look at it in this situation, like where I'm down here with Raphael Warnock, one thing Raphael Warnock promised to do was to release a lot of these black men, or at least fight to have a lot of these black men released from prison, especially young black men. Didn't happen. He's been in the seat now for a little while. He's just still preaching.
What else has he done?
No, he hasn't really done anything specifically for black folks.
Okay, but now answer this question. If he hasn't done anything specifically for black folks, but the people down there keep seeing that, why nobody is challenging him on that?
That's an excellent question. This is what I spoke to. I was just telling my boy Warren G that I spoke to a representative for Congress, Carolyn Bardo, who is running for the a Congress here in the 7th District in Georgia, in Gwinnett County in Georgia. And I said to her, black people, black men, black women, 40 and under are not concerned with Raphael Warnock. We're not concerned with people like that because we've been put onto the game. We understand that voting is not going to get everything done because we're still suffering from miseducation, mass incarceration. We still have voting, not voting rights, but housing rights, um, that housing laws that violate our rights here. So we're put onto the game. We already see what's happening. It's the people who were from Dr. Martin Luther King's generation who are still holding on to that hope of dreaming the dreamer, in which they didn't take a closer look at Martin Luther King, and they didn't take a look at his later years and his later stands in which he was starting to stand up for reparations. So you have these older folks who have children and they spread that nonsense to their children. So you still have some youngsters walking around here talking about we need to vote. So the biggest problem in which that we face is, again, the poison that's spreading. It's like a recipe that's handed down from your parents.
Let me ask you a
If
question. In your
Hold
in your
on,
district,
hold on, my brother. Let him finish.
oh, okay.
That's all.
Yeah, go ahead, go
I
ahead.
want him to, yeah, I want him to get his points across, man. Because you know what I'm saying. I'm studying, so when y'all talking, I'm writing stuff down. I'm looking stuff up. Because I look, this is education for me. So, so go ahead, my brother.
For all of us.
No doubt. So yes, and that's what you have. It's kind of it's real similar to a recipe that's been given down from generation to generation. A recipe about macaroni and cheese. But if that recipe that's been given to you, if you've been told that that's the only way to make macaroni and cheese, how would you know that the person who started it, the ancestor that started it in your family, how do you know that they're actually right? They're just spreading it down. So when we're looking at voting, we're saying, how do we know that what you're telling me to do to go out there and vote, get my butt to the poll? And they literally, Warren G, they had a hooker, they had a billboard out, and they had a hooker on the billboard with her butt out, and it said, "Get your butt out to the polls."
Yep.
So let me take a close look at it again. These people are not from our community. When I say community, I'm talking about the black community. As far as physical setup, black people don't have a community. We don't have one because we don't own and control any resources, but just a mindset of nation building. These people are not chosen from us for us. They're not for us. So again, when you have a person who is seeking notorious manumission, all they are concerned about is their award. And what does their award come with? It's a form of what? Money, power, and resources. That's what they want. That's so when they think in terms of that, when they have their money, they have the power, they have the resources, they're not thinking in terms of I'm going to hand this, I'm going to redistribute what I accumulated back to my nation. Although I know I can't repay my people the reparations that they deserve, that they need, that they should have. I can't redistribute every single resource, but I'm going to redistribute some resources. These people are not thinking in terms of that. If they were, they'd be thinking in terms of nationhood, and that goes against the construct. That goes against the dominant society, which is white rage. Now, if they were to think in terms of nationhood, then they would, number one, they would think about these two things first: education and economics. Plain and simple. Those are the two most important things, resources you can give out to black people, or you can, or a black person can achieve at this point in time, because those are the two things that we don't need you to actually give us everything, right? You teach us, not you teach us, but you give us the resources to obtain a better economy, and the resources to educate our children and ourselves at a higher rate. Once we do that, we don't have to ask you for fish. We can fish ourselves. So these are the things which is happening. This is why they would never ever go against their society, because they are Oreos. They are what Marcus Garvey would call a coconut man from Antigua. You're brown or black on the outside and you're white on the inside. Um, Dr. Chancellor Williams spoke about these people frequently. These black people, these black leaders who are put in position to give us the ideology, or give us the idea that they are for us, but in all actuality, in all essence, they serve the interests of the white society. This is what they do. But we haven't had black folks or black leaders who have been handpicked, know that they've been handpicked, and redistribute the resources back to black people. We haven't had that done ever since Booker T. Washington. Malcolm X was not handpicked by white society. Elijah Muhammad was not handpicked by the white society. Fred Hampton wasn't handpicked. Ella Baker was not handpicked. Mary Lou Hamer was not handpicked. You see, in a big way, Martin Luther King was handpicked, because Martin Luther King wanted to be a lawyer, and they handpicked him to be a preacher. That's when he was Michael. His name was Michael King. By the time he was transformed to Martin Luther King, now he's a preacher. So these people, they understand that it's been done, they've been played before. So they're also smart. They know how to read and kind of like gather up a little bit. You know, they look at it and they say, okay, Booker T. Washington, we handpicked him. We gave him the money and the resources. We heard him speak, and we heard him tell black folks to fall back from politics and focus more on hand skills, hand things that you can do with your hands, trade schools. We heard him talk about that, and we thought that would simmer the blacks down. But in all actuality, behind closed doors, he had schools and all of that stuff happening underground. He had these churches being served as schools, and the people there, the black folks there, were receiving proper education. On the low, he was empowering black people, but in public, he didn't speak against lynching. He paid a terrible price for that. You know what I'm saying? So this is just he compromised a little bit to give us a lot. You know, so he laid on light on the lynching so that we can have schools, so that we can have churches that's going to actually cater to childcare, real health care, hospitals, or doctors. You know what I'm saying? So we haven't had that type of leader that was handpicked from the white society that's going to actually turn around and say, I'm going to redistribute my resources back to black people. We haven't had that ever since him. As far as from what I see, we haven't had that. So, Warren G, when it comes down to it, why should they? Why should they ever turn towards black people and say, we are going to cater to you? Why should they do that? They don't see us in themselves. When I look to you, Warren G, if I look to another black man, I now cannot look at another black man and have a hatred for him. You know what I'm saying? I have a different outlook. Now, I ain't stupid. I know every black man can't be trusted, but I'm going to look at that black man as my brother. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk to him, I'm not going to talk to him in a disrespectful way, unless it has to get to that point. But my first response is to speak to this brother as a brother, because I see myself in him. Consciousness has taught me that. So I see myself in this brother. These black politicians do not see us inside of them. So why would they cater to us if they don't see us inside of them? They want to be like the whites. So they look towards other groups who worship the whites, and they feel like we're on the same page as them. So it's about all of us. It's about all people. It ain't about just black people, because when you say black, it causes a disturbance within them. They have cognitive dissonance all of a something. They cannot just focus specifically on black people, because they know that will seclude other folks. But if it secludes other folks, that means they lose their power, their money, and their resources. They're not willing to do that. They're not thinking in terms of nationhood, or should I say, group economics and group education. They won't do it.
All right. All right. Okay, my brother, you permit any last words? Because we're getting ready to wrap this up. So
Yeah,
you
I
have
just
any
want to
last
ask.
words?
Yeah, I just want to ask the brother a question. Down at Warnock's district, you said you live in. Do you see an influx of illegal immigrants in your area?
Yeah, so I don't live in Raphael Warnock's district, but I see a lot of immigrants coming in. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Now, if you know some people down there, or see, this is the stuff that irks me, because I think with Warnock and a lot of these Democrats, I don't think they want to be white. I think they just want a seat at the table so they can say, "Look at me. If I got here, you can get here too. Hard work and labor." Remember, that's what Obama told us. Pull yourselves up by the bootstraps and stop crying and complaining. Remember, he told us that. This is the mindset that these black politicians have. That's why they are so easily handpicked, because those are what you call safe Negroes. All they want is a seat at the table, might not have nothing to eat. They might have to clean up afterwards, but as long as they have the seat at the table, that's all they're concerned about. The reason why I ask you about the Warnock thing down there, because my problem is bringing these illegal immigrants is hurting our black communities. But black people keep voting these same people in instead of holding them accountable. And how you hold them accountable, you call them out on that stuff every 5 minutes. But they got us conditioned that, oh, well, we are such compassionate and warming and heartfelt people, and it gets to our emotions seeing others struggle. Meanwhile, we're struggling. But meanwhile, them people, we help them, and they all of a sudden they springboard off our backs. So I just wanted to ask that question about Warnock and his area, because if you look at, that's the pattern that these black Democrats have. Up here in New York, same thing with Eric Adams, but he's black West Indian. He's not even 100% black American, so it's a big difference.
Well, look, man, that's gonna be. We're gonna have to have me and Dave. We're gonna have to have a whole nother topic and discussion the next time we do this, because we do this every week, man. Me and him, we do this spaces. We're not clout chasers, so it's just me and him, and it's always fine when it's me and him. I want people to come in, give their thoughts and their opinions. We really do appreciate you, my brother, coming through and giving your
Yeah,
opinion and gracing
likewise.
us with your
Likewise.
knowledge. Man, we want, the next time I'm a send you an alert too, man, because like I said, I told David, man, I said, man, you be dropping jewels, man. So this is just stuff that I feel like everybody needs to hear, and the reason why it is because it's important. It's important for people to have a different perspective and just compare notes. And David, man, before we get out of here, man, I want both of y'all to let us know where we can find y'all, and if y'all got anything y'all want to promote, go ahead and do that. So, David, man, you want to go ahead and promote your stuff real quick?
Absolutely, bro. So yes, it's No Compromise Media. That's my podcast, No Compromise Media. You can type that up on Google. You could type it up on YouTube. You could type it up on TikTok. I'm on those, and Is No Compromise Media. No Compromise Media.
Hello?
Also, and also I have my nonprofit organization, which is Young Kings Elite Basketball. Young Kings Elite Basketball. That's the organization that I use as a tool to help our young men with their character development. So it's more so of a mentoring, character development organization. And I just use basketball as a tool because I know all black kids pretty much like basketball. So I try to give them a different aspect of character in which they can pertain. And then hopefully by the time they're older, they're not only just looking to just play pro, but they can buy their own and get together and purchase their own basketball association, as opposed to solely just looking to be drafted into the plantation.
All right, my brother. You permit, go ahead and promote your stuff. If you can go ahead and promote your stuff before we get out of here, my brother. Where can we find you? Your social media, and if you got YouTube or anything like that.
No, I don't have anything. Only thing I just want to contribute that, I don't expect everybody to agree with everything I say. My position is to give people an option and choice and look at things from a different lens. We need to start having a lot more uncomfortable conversations about economics, about politics, because you never know. Certain times, we might think one way, and then again, you say, you know what, maybe that thought process or maybe that process might not work. Just to give a different perspective and different lens. Yeah, I might say some things that might go against the grain, but you know what? We need to start getting our creative minds thinking because, like I said, at the end of the day, my thought process is, how power works. Power rewards power. Power punishes those who goes against them. Power rewards their allies and punish their enemies. See, I prefer to, like Warnock, I would prefer to vote the opposition versus have him get the glory of continuing to practice his behavior. It's about changing people's behaviors with these politics. It is about the likables and all this stuff, but it's the behavior changes that we need to do to these people. In order for you to want us to vote for you and support you, you need to do this, this, and this. If you don't, I have no problem voting the opposition because you did it to yourself. Just like how we tell our kids, hey, listen, you chose to do this, you did it to yourself. Now I got to put my foot down. That's my position. Appreciate the conversation tonight, my brothers, and hope all is well the rest of the week and have a safe weekend.
All right, y'all too, man. David, I'm gonna get with you. We're gonna try to get another one in. If you had the time, just hit me up. You already know the link in. And I want to chop it up with you about some other stuff offline. I appreciate everybody coming on and listening. And hey, man, we're gonna reconvene again next weekend. Y'all have a good week and have a good, safe weekend.
All right, you too, bros.
All right, my brother.